troops and they practice taking your guns. And what am I getting to now? CNN, up on Infowars.com right now. We'll show you on screen the two top red links. Louisiana rep moves to violate posse comitatus and put troops on New Orleans streets. And Kurt's since changed that headline because the article's really about Ron Paul. It's now, hit refresh on that for me. Martial law attempt in Louisiana echoes Ron Paul's warning. Next article under it. One that I put together with Paul Watson. Paul did the lion's share of the work there. I just sat there and data streamed at him and sent him some links. By Paul Watson, Alex Jones, Louisiana state officials call for troops on streets. National Guard engaged in door-to-door gun confiscation during Hurricane Katrina. And who led them? The FBI, who will do anything they're told. If it means torching Waco, they're on board. That's who was in command of the Delta Force and all of it. If it means sitting there and shooting little kids in the head and blowing women's heads off if they hold babies in their arms because they dared to hide out in their own property with guns, they wanted to get domestic terrorism legislation passed at Ruby Ridge and Waco. And when both backfired on them and made them look bad, they blew up Oklahoma City. And we even know the names of the FBI agents that ran the stinking thing and were seen by police. Of course, they murdered them. Some of them got the information out before they killed the medical doctors and police officers deader than a hammer. And then we found the receipts at the hotels, how they were already in town when they lied about that. And it's not fun, and it's creepy to get up here and talk about these people because I know who they are. And the fact that they'll blow little kids up at a daycare center shows you who they are. Totally turned over to the dark side. 100% willing to do anything. And the only way to defeat an enemy like that is to man up and admit to yourself who they are. And to say, I'm committed against you, and that's the end of it, no matter what happens. And you know what? They take us out individually, folks. We grow 100 more heads. And in their old paradigm, they'd smash us individually. But that only gave the Tree of Liberty more power. So now they just try to poison the general water supply, the food, dumb everybody down. When we come back, the top story before I get into global economic meltdown by design, incredible police state, TSA. Oh, by the way, the military is going to be exempt now from the TSA. You see, the enforcer class is going to be exempt. The citizens are the enemy. Oh, there's a war on for your mind, all right. Look at the center of DrudgeReport.com. Local cops ready for war with DHS-funded military weapons. Armored cars with turrets, drones, military-grade assault rifles. Articles pouring out everywhere where they're getting microwave guns, sound cannons, even non-law enforcement groups being given giant cases of shotguns. What do they know? The minute they got rid of Glass-Steagall in '99 and allowing the central banks to go hog wild and make unlimited fake money, Ponzi schemes, that they could then sign us onto. The minute they got rid of that, it was just pure martial law training 24/7. And 12, 13 years later, the military's awake. 70+% of the donations to Ron Paul. Period. Of all the other presidential candidates. But they've got specialized mercenaries, specialized that they've questionnaire. They've got, I would say they probably got 10 brigades from my sources and studying what they've announced and what I've seen. They've got about 10 brigades. How many? What's 10 times 4,000? I mean, they've got 40,000 troops that will eat their guts and ask for seconds and shoot American citizens all day long. And then they've got all these public deals that are in Toronto Star, Washington Post, and over the years I'm like, look at this. They say they'll use foreign troops in America during civil emergencies. And then you see NLE09 from FEMA saying it 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And then you see at the Olympics, Mexican and U.S. troops in Canada bossing Canadians around. I mean, we're in the North American Union. And they tell Europeans in Germany and France, you will pay any taxes we say. We're going to send EU police, paramilitary police in to collect it. It's just like when our government's been used for over 100 years to invade Latin American countries that don't, pay fake loan sharking debts to private banks. Smedley Butler, Marine Corps, 2-time Congressional Medal of Honor winner, exposed all that. I mean, our government is illegitimate. It runs the drugs. It runs it all. And I've just got stacks of news coming in, mainstream news, about tanks, microwave guns, sound cannons. I didn't even cover this last week. We covered it on the nightly news. They're coming out, Raytheon, and local police departments are getting them, with a riot shield that has a system that transmits a wavelength where you can't breathe and chokes you. And, nosebleeds, all of it. They're calling it a Darth Vader choke shield. Darth Vader, chokes people with his mind. The police come up to you, and of course, they're going to want to use it and pull the trigger. It's like, people they've killed, rubber bullets right up close, and they just choke you. And again, they call it less lethal, and they kill us with the weapons, the tasers, the rest of it. And then it's just a training aid that everybody used to sing the public shot with rubber bullets and the rest of it, then it's real bullets. Of course, this won't go quite like China and other places. If 1% of the population fights back that has guns, that's 1.5 million. I would not want to be one of the bully boys if this kicks off. And believe me, I don't want it to kick off. We're not going to be on air. The total collapse is a certainty. If that happens, our whole world is a disaster zone, and you know where they're coming first. They'll whack Ron Paul so fast it'll make your head spin. Plane crash, heart attack. They'll pull me over. I mean, they had the Houston police, who's got known government hit teams on it, pull that CIA section chief over, Carnaby, a few years ago, who was blowing the whistle. He got out peacefully. They just got him down, executed him right there on the spot. On the news. They don't care. Listen, the drugs alone in this country is $500 billion a year. You know what it's like to control the greatest military empire in the world? Special interests came in here and fought with each other tooth and nail to get control. The most evil of the evil, survival of the most wicked. And they're now in control, and they hope their propaganda would work on people, but because a lot of us knew the truth, we got the jump on them. And because they were arrogant, we got the jump on them. But now they know. And they are going to want to launch this, and they're going to try to sell it. I'm going to come back and play the video clips and analyze it. They're going to want to sell this on, well, look at the welfare checks, don't buy the food anymore. People are rioting. The crime is so horrible. And they beta test it on, the groups that, that's just the minorities. But if you read the documents and if you look at the checkpoints around the country in Tennessee, California, other places, they're going after people that wear John Deere hats. I mean, I've seen like 10 articles in the last 3 days about Amish nationwide being raided by SWAT teams. And who are legally selling milk. I mean, we go to San Antonio once a week and get fresh milk up there. Everybody gets it. It's totally legal. They don't care. There's not even a law. And there's one sheriff saying no to him, saying you don't even come with warrants. There's not even a law. I mean, they're raiding people everywhere. Lemonade stands, people with gardens. I mean, the government is basically doing everything Stalin did. Our government is cancer. It's all coming down.
It's 2 a.m.
We're talking about world government, my friends, run by a group of scientists, technocrats, who have been playing with us like we're lab rats, studying psychological warfare, propaganda, chemical, biological manipulation. That's who the New World Order is. In their own words, a scientific dictatorship with a bunch of little paid liar politicians that they fund from the local right up to the state, the federal, the international, and the more slimy, the more sickening, the more criminal they are, the higher they go up the chain. And that's what's going on. So here are the articles. You can see it in CBS, Bloomberg, everywhere. Ron Paul being attacked for his interview here last Tuesday, so 8-9 days ago. They said, Ron Paul says he's worried about military on the street and arrest of citizens. This is the type of crazy paranoia. Meanwhile, hundreds of articles are about congressmen and senators warn this allows Obama to even kill U.S. citizens and detain you for life secretly. And we play all the clips, but see, they just put it in the articles like it's nuts. counting on the public being totally stupid. These reporters all know full well what they're doing. All the neocon sites are like, look at this crazy Ron Paul on Alex Jones talking about troops on the streets and gun confiscation. And then meanwhile, they're drilling all over the country to carry this out, and the articles are up at Infowars.com. Louisiana state officials call for troops on the streets. National Guard engaged in door-to-door gun confiscation during Hurricane Katrina. Don't forget that. And the other article by Kurt Nimmo, martial law attempt in Louisiana echoes Ron Paul's warning. You ought to get these articles and send them to the paid hacks at Bloomberg and CBS and Red State and the rest of them and say, how are you going to feel as the depression intensifies? How are you going to like it when they end up first registering and then fully confiscating guns? How are you going to like being occupied? How do you like the TSA checkpoints already being set up on highways? How do you like what America's turned into? How do you like? I mean, I remember 10 years ago talking about face scanning cameras and license plate readers and being laughed at as they were putting them in. Now they're giving tanks, armored vehicles, microwave guns, sound cannons, and telling local police, prepare for war with the American people. I had Arte Saveda in here, the Austin police chief, who I think at the end of the day is a good person, but is so in the system that he's slowly awakening. I don't want to get him in trouble, but he said a few things off record that, you know, show me that he's basically, well, I'm not going to even get into it. And of course, you know, when I get people like him in studio, I shouldn't immediately try to get them, you know, to break and stop going on their script, because that just makes them go more into the turtle shell when I start, you know, going at them 100 miles an hour right out of the gates. But I said, what are you going to do when they want to put military on the streets? And he said the sky would literally have to be falling to have military on the streets. Really, Art? All over the country, the National Guard and old bases are providing, FEMA says, we'll give you this money, county or city, but you got to move in with the military in this base. They're using the military to, quote, surveil pot growers. And now it's extremist, or now it's families that are right-wing on their farm and predator drones. That's how they always sell it. It's here, Art. And just because people like you aren't consciously evil, just because you haven't been to the urban warfare drills, doesn't mean that we're not going down this road. And I saw it with the governor of Illinois pushing troops on the streets. I've seen others calling for it. And the idea is locals, the states, the counties, the cities, no, are federalized. It's now federalized. Another thing that's unconstitutional. National Guard, it has to patrol the streets, and the state rep says that it made the people have good morale and feel good. Yeah, the feds jam communications with the police. Everything breaks down. And then they send the military in, not to give food and water for 6 days, but to go into high and dry areas and loot and rob houses, as happened on record. Police were caught robbing banks, robbing Walmarts. We first reported they were shooting people trying to walk out on the dry bridges. Imagine you're trying to walk out on the dry highways, and the feds ordered the police to shoot citizens, and then the feds indicted the local cops who followed orders. I remember at the time we had eyewitnesses saying, oh, they're shooting people, families that try to get out. There's dead bodies everywhere. They're hiding the dead bodies. They're claiming they died from water. And the local police got on TV. One of them was the parish sheriff, and cried and said the feds told us not to go in and rescue anybody. So the first day I called my mama, her cell phone was still working, battery. Mama, I'm coming to get you out of the nursing home. The second day, the third day, the fourth day, I said, I'm coming, Mama. They're going to let me soon. And on the fifth